Buenos noches, everybody. Welcome to the Moon Night. This is the finale. Also want to say felicidades to everyone celebrating Cinco de Mayo. Um, also, Revenge of the Fifth, if you want to call that a holiday. It's a holy time. Modelos. So it's a time. It's a time. We're also, many of you, if you're watching this on video on demand, then you are probably at Doctor Strange right now, and I envy you very much. Joining us today are some of the faces you've seen throughout the course of our review series. So I'm just going to introduce everybody, starting with Joseph, who is not the devil's advocate. He's the angel's defense.
Yeah. We're
trademarking it.
We're way more underpaid, and the hours are long, and it's just there's so much going on.
There's so, look out for more information on our new podcast, Angel's Defense.
It sounds like a lawyer show,
doesn't it?
It does. That sounds like a lot like After Law and Order. Like this
it's like right after.
Yeah. It's the sequel to Touched by an Angel. He went and became a lawyer.
My mind went in a completely different direction.
I see where you went with that. You don't remember that show?
My mom I do.
Who doesn't? Who don't remember Touched by an Angel?
I was about
Children.
to say, I gotta go.
Oh yeah, the younger ones.
Also, when like Christianity was like in your face, it was
absolutely
Jesus.
That and like Ferngully, because like eco terrorism, all that stuff, like Christianity and saving the earth.
You mean Avatar the prequel?
Yes. Also joining us is Jake from State Farm himself. He took time out of the commercials to be here. Jake Lockley. Yes, Jake Lockley. I have lots to say about you, particularly today.
I know. That's why I'm here.
Jake Lockley here. Say what's up.
Hello, my peoples. I missed you guys. We back.
And then also joining us from last time, a lot of people had loved you. I got a lot of they like somebody who like is also confused and not as like,
that's me.
Me and Joseph were like, we know everything, and you're just like, what? And people appreciated that a lot.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I was telling someone, I was like, I guess there was a reference to Wakanda, just like way over, like nothing.
It's Danielle from the Gamers.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
And I am your moderator. I started this thing, and I'm going to end this damn thing. And what more appropriate than a Hispanic ending the series? Am I right? No.
I get it. I got that one.
Make sure you guys leave your theories, your thoughts, your feelings, your hate, your anger, all in the comments. And also, if you want to leave a super chat because you like my hair, go ahead and do that, because I need money to get back from its hair. And also, I just mentioned this will be because this is our finale, so there's no more Moon Knight after this. So say everything you gotta say right now. So again, guys, this is the finale. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, I want to ask you guys, where does this finale rank for you guys as far as all the finales for the series? Because it's one thing to rank the series itself, but the finales all have like different vibes to them and different end games, if you will. So I want to ask you guys, where does this finale rank for you? And I'm gonna start with Jake from State Farm Lockley.
So I'm so glad that you chose to moderate this one, because I hated this
snap.
to the point that I only watched it once, so I wouldn't have been a good moderator. I was like, oh, I hope she doesn't want me to lead this. Yeah, no, I hated everything about this. And I think it was like the shortest finale to date.
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
As long as a regular episode of this show, which makes it shorter than the other finales.
Yeah, I was not rolling at all.
So this is the very bottom for finales for you.
The bottom of the barrel.
Danielle, where does this finale rank for you as far as Marvel shows? Because you have watched them. Right at the bottom.
Right at the bottom.
I'm also there, just with less hate.
Okay.
It's the idea that, like, you know how I say like Thor Ragnarok is still better than not Ragnarok. Ragnarok's really good. Thor: The Dark World is better than most DC movies, but it's still like my second worst Marvel movie. It's just something's got to be at the bottom. That's kind of how I feel about this one. Like it's fine, but like the only thing that makes like, because I love Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I hated the finale of that show compared to the rest of the series. And the only reason I like that one better than I like this one is the emotional stakes of the characters we've grown to love in Falcon and Winter Soldier make it better.
That's fair.
Because we don't have any emotional stakes beyond what we've literally learned this entire series, this episode just felt like a
Yeah.
Listen,
I 100% agree with Joseph, because like Falcon and the Winter Soldier was my least favorite finale up until this one, and it's like far, like way down at the bottom. Like, there's a huge, there's like, you know, like other things between, because I'm just like, what happened to Layla? What happened to the hippo lady? Like, we didn't resolve anything, and there were so many things I wanted to know. There were like, I had so many questions, and at the end I was just like, well, that sucked. Like, and I didn't feel like that about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I didn't leave being like, that was a waste of my time. I didn't.
Ooh, a waste of your time.
That's how I felt.
Those are strong words, even for me, as everyone's favorite hater. I didn't like the ending, but my reason for not liking it is on a different level, which we will get there. So this episode kind of starts where it ended last time. Senor Mark Spector, he makes it to the fields of reeds. Tyrette is just like, enjoy your silence, you earned this, and he's just like,
it's so quiet.
Right. I liked the voices,
right? And I'm like, as a parent, I'm like, sign me the fuck up, because I could use some silence. But Mark wasn't feeling it, and he decided all of a sudden that he loves Steve. He appreciates everything Steven has done for him, and he's not gonna leave him in the sand. Goes back and he goes get him. And he has like this very like Frozen speech between like Anna and Elsa, but it's just him and Steve. And like,
I didn't think of it like that. That's
the first thing I thought of. Like, are they doing Frozen?
It's like you look at him talking, and I'm just like sitting there, it's like, it's really a shame Steven couldn't hear any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
I keep telling y'all, get y'all Disney out of my Marvel.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah,
all mixed in.
They had Nemo in there,
guys,
Aladdin references.
Let it go.
Avatar.
I know. Avatar. I know. They're never not gonna do it. I can dream.
So this is supposed to be like the big emotional moment. If I have to, like, if you look through this episode, and I don't think it succeeded in being what they thought it wanted to be. So I want to ask you guys, how do you feel about the show's lack of emotion? I feel like a lot of the other series had a lot of really strong, at least a couple episodes where there's a lot of heavy emotion, especially like WandaVision and Loki specifically. Lots of heavy feelings there. But for some reason, the show dealing with mental illness and cultural things, there was like hardly any emotion in it. So do you feel like that was a choice, or, you know, what's your overall thoughts? And Danielle, I'm going to ask you to go first about how do you feel about the lack of feelings in our Moon Knight?
Yeah, it felt very hollow, actually. And then the way you set that question up, it made me think of even Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, one of the things I really disliked about the finale was Falcon's extremely long speech about, like, you got to do better. And I was just like, oh, Lord, this is not ending. But I would have preferred that to this, where, like, I even was like, oh, it'd be really cool if we could get some more, like, Egyptian culture in there, like, just some substance of, like, the impact this is having on people. I mean, like, souls are flying into the air, and it's just like nothing. Like, I had no connection to anybody. And then, like, Taraweti was like so cute and funny, but like we didn't get enough of that either. I was just like, we don't have it. Like, I didn't have anything to hold on to. That's how I felt.
Joseph, how did you feel about the lack of?
So it's not that I feel like there was a lack of emotion. I just feel like it didn't have the weight, because we're comparing it to literally all the other Marvel series, and all the other Marvel series have some kind of established character we give a shit about going in. So they don't have to pull that heavy duty of like making us care about the character and making us care about the stakes in the story and everything else, while also just giving us a good story. Because, you know, we already give a shit about these characters. We give a shit about Wanda and Vision's relationship. We give a shit about Sam and Bucky. We give a shit about everything happening in those, because we've dealt with, this is like 10 years of our life, people. Like, you know, the MCU's been around forever. So I feel like that's like part of the problem, is it having to pull double duty made them tired, and it just wasn't enough to make me give that much of a shit. Like I gave a shit. I was like, oh, this is cool, or oh man, that's awesome, or whatever. But like it didn't have the same oomph that even Falcon and the Winter Soldier had. And as a side note, I feel like at this point in the lives of everyone on planet Earth, like souls flying up in the air is like, it's fine. It's like Tuesday to them. Like we're talking like a few months back, a giant face showed up for 20 minutes. And then you also have, half the planet vanished, and then 5 years later they just came back.
I have a question about that too. But Jake, what did you feel about the lack of lacking in Moon Knight?
The lack of lacking. No, so Joe's second point is going to definitely be my first. I feel like in their attempt to try to make us connect with both Mark and Steven, we don't really connect to either one of them.
And if I may interject real quick, just to add in, it's not just those two, it's everyone. We're supposed to think like Khonshu's okay and Layla and everyone else, and there's just so much.
Yeah, but I actually hated the decision to bring Steven back. I thought that there was something very powerful in Mark overcoming his childhood trauma in the last episode. I thought Steven was done. And I guess it's kind of like Oscar Isaac's so good at playing multiple characters, they probably didn't want to like take that off the board and just let him be Mark Spector. But I was just like, oh, Steven's gone. Mark's going to save the world. He's like come to grips with his trauma. He doesn't need Steven anymore. That was like his coming of age moment to me. And they just like snatched that away so Oscar Isaac can be a great actor and play two people. So it's just like, it made, I would, hey, that's Fox. That's Fox.
Not just Fox, that's the notoriously terrible Bryan Singer.
Yeah, they do weird shit over there. Or they did. But yeah, it felt hollow to me. Like, and again, it was like essentially, if you're watching this chronologically, like he loses Steven at the end of the episode and gets him right back at the beginning of the next one. So it's like there's no loss. Like there's no
and he comes back to life.
It's the Chewbacca and the Rise of Skywalker situations. Like
1,000%.
The ship blows up and then Star Wipe and he's just there.
Right. Yeah. No set. That's such a good point, Jake from State Farm. Like I really wanted Steven to like be gone. Like I actually liked that for Mark. I really wanted that. And I knew Jake was coming because we talked, I talked to you all the week before. And so I was like, oh cool, we get to have like a different foil, maybe. That's not like so pure and like angelic with Steven. But now it's just all three of them.
Oh yeah. So it was for me. I agree with Matt. As someone who has dealt with childhood trauma, to overcome that takes years. It's a lot of unpacking and really digging deep. And I thought when he let go of Steven, he was like healing from that trauma. Like Steven's job was done, was to protect him and be there for him, but now he can do it on his own. I understand that's not how dissociative identity disorder works, but that is something that they could have still done with like the mental health aspect of mental health. Yeah, go ahead.
Which is part of a problem with Moon Knight is portraying this stuff respectfully, accurately, and within the scope of good storytelling. It's what makes the character a very challenging character to translate to any media.
Yeah, it was. So I didn't really enjoy the bringing of, and I didn't like the Frozen reference because it was definitely from Frozen. So we have, so we get the scene of them getting back together essentially, and then we see above that Layla is really doing much of the work of having to get Khonshu back and what a great master of disguise she is with just a hoodie. You know what I mean? Like no one suspects this person at all.
In a small intimate group of 5 people.
Exactly. Everyone's like, oh yeah, you've told opinion.
I thought there was a guy in that outfit.
It's not just that, it's just there were more. There's probably at least 12, 2 dozen people in that group, but like
she was like in the same truck with these, like, come on, like y'all didn't know
they all know each other. They're in a cult. Like
that's what I'm saying. It's like, well, what if Thor doing Ragnarok? He said, not when I do this.
Having gone to one for years in the past in a church and stuff, like you know everyone in your little cluster.
Absolutely. It was just, but I also really love the cute scene of like Tourette like going through the dead people being like, Layla.
That was hilarious. That was hilarious.
That's why we needed more of her. We needed more of her or more of Khonshu. like I really wish we got to actually understand his like motivation more.
Or even I was also saying to myself, like when Ahmet finally appeared, I was like, damn, that's like really cool looking. And for someone like usually we don't think of like alligators or crocodiles as something feminine, but somehow they made a balance of like femininity with like this strong aesthetic.
It was the
Like,
eyes. Yeah.
I was
It
like,
was the
damn, she's
eyes.
so
Yep.
cool. Like, why I would have loved more of her. So basically, you know, Ahmet is like talking to Harrow and her speech of like, yeah, my former avatar was like perfectly balanced and but you're not balanced. And I like that. Like it's like saying like staying in a toxic relationship because you like see the potential in the person.
Mhm.
And that's what Ahmet and Harrow were with each other. And I also like that she said like your unbalance is because you're gonna work with me, which kind of made me think like she's kind of a hypocrite if you really
For sure.
They
think
both
about
are.
1000 was kind of.
Yeah.
But I was also
That's-
trying to be on some like female empowerment shit, so I didn't want to ruin her shit. You know what I mean? Like no, go ahead, you got it. Right, you can go ahead, girl, take over the world. But
one of those things like you're not wrong, you're just kind of being an asshole about
right,
it.
yeah. So I want to ask you guys. So we've met Khonshu, we've met Met, we have Tourette, and I agree with Dan. I wish we got to see some of the other gods because we've seen their avatars, but we didn't get to see them. But like, what did you think about? Again, I want to say like the lack of their presence because when they're on screen, it's like this shit is cool, but we didn't get it. What do you feel like? Because we always say, Daniel, like for the Marvel writer room to come get us, but I want you guys to know, like, do you think that was a Marvel choice to not have more of the gods? Was it a financial thing because CGI ain't cheap? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just felt like if you're gonna do it, for me personally, it's like if you're gonna do it, you gotta go fully ahead. Like I would assume that they would do like something similar if they did like a live action remake of Hercules, because like they're all gonna be gods, so they all have to be big and boisterous and colorful, and that's not really what we got with the Egyptian gods, who are supposed to be gilded and golden and you know, like there's just again there's a lot of disconnect. So I want to ask you guys, how did you feel about the portrayal of these super gods that we've got? And I'm going to start with Jake from State Farm.
It was definitely a missed opportunity. Two cases in particular. I hate how in episode 2, I want to say it is, they kind of referenced how Khonshu wasn't always a dick. It was like he wasn't always like that. He even had a girlfriend and everything, and it seemed like they were gonna give him like a backstory. Totally never talked about it again outside of that episode. Like I thought they were gonna try to like not humanize him, but like, oh yeah, like he has his way or he's like this because this happened. Like they kept kind of hinting something happened that made all the guys kind of turn on him. And then Osiris was like in and around this whole show the whole time, and you never see his god form.
No.
And I thought that was so stupid.
Like all
his
the other gods we
avatar,
saw, only their
yeah,
avatars.
yeah, exactly. But like Osiris specifically, like he was like, the head of the judge and the council, and then like he taught Layla how to like free Khonshu, and then he was the like I thought it would have been dope when Osiris opened his doors, if it would have been him, like when Jake and not Jake, when Mark and Steven were like running through, because like what's the hippo's name? I forget her name.
Tourette.
Oh, what?
Yeah, she was just like, oh, Osiris, you big softy. I'm like, where you at?
On her boat. Yeah, I was
Yeah, it's just like I thought like that would have been like a cool moment if he was just like, oh, come on, hurry up. we need you over here. Like, we're getting our asses kicked. Like,
Yep.
Daniel, how did you feel about the portrayal of the Egyptian gods?
Yeah, I was actually expecting something like Captain Planet or like old school Power Rangers, like when our powers combine, we become this like giant thing. Like I was kind of expecting that. I didn't expect it all just like die, like just done. It's like, oh,
they could have.
Yes, they gotta find new avatars.
Right. And I was like, well, there's all these dead bodies around. Can you use one of these? Like, just, I don't know. Yeah, that was totally a missed opportunity. And if not that, I was like, oh, well, maybe we're not going to develop the gods because we're going to focus on Khonshu. And then they did for like a little bit. There's a little bit of back and forth, and then it was just like fighting as giants.
Oh yes, the King Kong versus Godzilla moment.
Yeah.
Joseph, what did you think about our portrayal of Egyptian gods?
So I like it and I dislike it. I do agree. I wish there was more of that side of it. Again, it's kind of a weird Moon Knight thing where it's like they're there, but they don't really be there, and sometimes it be like that.
Absolutely.
But the big problem is that like the reason they didn't show up, at least the rest of them in general, is because when they left and the whole reason Khonshu was still there and the whole reason Ahmet got locked away is like when I think the situation they talked about it when Ahmet got locked away, they're like, we got to stop fucking with mortal affairs. And they just decided to F out. And Khonshu's like, nah, man, there's still injustice to be
The travelers of the night.
there's still injustice to be punched in the face. And they were like, dude, chill. And he's like, nah, son. So they basically were like, cool, well, you're stuck here and you can't really do anything, but you can still get an avatar if you want or something. So I think that's why that's why the only people that can see Khonshu are his avatar, or I guess other avatars maybe. And then the rest of them didn't show up because I guess they're still following their rules. It's the Eternals problem.
Absolutely.
that like there's shit going down and it's technically even something they should give a crap about, but they're like, but the rules. If I had one problem, it's that Taweret didn't show up because she has an avatar with skin in the game now, and just like Mark and Khonshu are out there fighting Amit and Harrow, I would have loved to see Tara show up and just slug Amit in the face.
Let's jump her.
She seems like she would be like a jumping personality. I got that vibe from her.
And
I do agree. Like I also thought it was like maybe you guys felt the same way. Like the fight between Moon Knight and Harrow seems pointless because Harrow's not no one. He doesn't have powers. He's got
he did at that point.
But he
was her avatar.
But he still wasn't like good at it. Like it was just
right
because he just had a stick. He didn't have like a cool suit. He's like
he was holding both of them off.
He was
with his laser stick.
I wasn't impressed by it.
I will say real quick. Also, the internet got super horny for Amit. Like super horny.
Oh really?
And it was the moment that she just kind of slid her hand over Harrow's head. Everyone's like, oh please.
Yeah, listen, the internet be horny every time these shows come out.
Do.
And it'd be for the most random thing, like this what y'all doing?
Because I think even in like episode 2, they were like Khonshu daddy.
Oh no, absolutely. I know.
What?
You should have. This might turn into like a rated R situation, but like
always
it does. But like I remember like on Twitter, like people tell me like, how does Khonshu give head then? I'm like, why is that something you can talk about?
Why is that where you go?
I never thought about this.
Yo, the internet was thinking about it.
Khonshu's voice though, I really did like that voice actor.
Go ahead, Jay.
Sorry.
She be helping people get their Crocs off.
This is the content you come here for, people.
You know.
So we have this, the Godzilla King Kong fight. Mark is getting his ass kicked for whatever reason, and then Steven is just like, "Yo, I don't think this is like we're not really holding it down like we usually do." And then all of a sudden, black goes to black. And about 2 seconds later, we get like a DJ riffing. He about to switch the track on us, and we're gonna get a little, and everyone is dead. Just like everyone is dead. And of course, Steve goes, "Was that you?" And no. Mark goes, "Was that you?" No. And then everybody's just going, and the end. You know what I mean? And not to skip over the fact that Layla does become Taret's avatar, which is known as the Scarlet Scarab in the comics, where she just looked like Wonder Woman 84 towards the end of the
Fun fact, another transformation from the comic version, because the comic version's a dude that fought alongside like Captain America and Union Jack back in World War II.
Yeah, it was a change, but
the Invaders, weren't they called something like
they
that?
They were fighting against the Invaders, but that's just the comic okay version to say,
Yeah, I got you.
We'll tell you in the chat. Yeah, it was just, I think we all can agree, like we said, this was not our favorite ending of a series. This probably wasn't everyone's favorite series out of the Marvel altogether. But like we said, I think we talked about previous before, like the blackouts were cool when it was like a mystery. And we're like, okay, the blackouts are going to lead to an answer. Because Mark said it wasn't him, Steve said it wasn't him, it has to be somebody else. And we don't learn anything after the fact. And I know to me it felt lazy. I think we all agree it was a laziness. And then
They blacked out the boss fight.
They
Like, how do you do
You
that?
can't do that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You it's kind of or it's kind of like, in video games where it is a boss fight, but really it's a cutscene. So like no matter what you do, the scene is the same no matter what.
The quick time actions scenes,
Yeah.
so they makes you feel like you're playing.
I'm doing something, but
Quick, hit square now.
yeah, you're not doing the damn thing. It doesn't matter. So yeah, and then it's just Layla, and the ending was not what it was supposed to be. And so I just to ask you guys, like, the ending, like, I don't want to say did you like it, because I think we can all agree we didn't like it, but what would you have changed to make it be better? I don't want to say good, because I
The
think
whole episode.
just the whole
Yeah,
episode.
yeah, exactly.
Change all
Starting
that
with
shit.
Steven staying frozen.
Yeah,
Like,
Steven
let's start-
stayed dead.
I just like, could they have done anything differently? I think I was thinking to myself, like, if I had the last episode and this episode and it was like a 90-minute movie, I think somehow it would have been better than the whole series of I don't know. It just felt so intangible to me. Danielle, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to your earlier question of like, could it have been better? Yes, and I think it would have been longer, but you could have had Layla meet Jake. Obviously Jake from State Farm. She could have met Jake. Like, she could have been like, who are you? And we could have done that whole thing. Like, I actually would have appreciated that. Like, instead of
met Jake.
I'm sorry.
We could have met Jake.
Right. Like, we could have, like,
yeah.
I mean, the cutting of it. And I was also curious, like, how does he fight? Like, I just have all these questions. Like, what happens when the two of them go away? Like, how does he fight? How did he actually take down Harrow? Like, does he have superhuman powers? Like, I just want to know all these answers.
Jake, since you are the man of the hour, how would you have made things better?
Ass. It was so bad. No, but like me and Danielle were saying, I would have kept Steven dead. Like, it's like Mark gets resurrected, gets brought back to life to get his ass whooped. Like, his resurrection kind of served no purpose. Like, Mark did all the heavy lift. I'm sorry, Jake did all the heavy lifting and everything, and even Layla, she was putting in work. Like, Mark and Steven just got beat up. They took turns getting beat up and everything and whatnot. So just I always say I try to give the benefit of the doubt, but I find it hard to believe, like, when major companies are sitting in like the watch room and they're like, all right, put it out. This is it. I'm like, no one was sitting at that table and who approved the blackout of the boss fight. Because it's like, for me, that discredited Harold's whole arc. Yep. Like, he was like built to be like the big bad, or like big bad by proxy. And it's like, we don't even get to see anything. And it's just like, blink and now he's beat up. It's like, oh, you made him a puss. Like, it's like what happened? Like you were saying, Danielle, like, me and Joe, we've talked about this before. I feel like Marvel leans on the fact that their fan base is very smart. And they're like, oh, you'll fill in the blanks. It's like, I don't want to always have to fill in the blanks. Like with Jake, like, it's like, oh, he's probably like the Dark Moon Knight suit. The Black Knight suit's probably his suit.
Would have been awesome.
Oh
yeah,
God.
Show me. Show me.
Yeah, 100%.
Joseph, is there anything they could have done to make it better?
So much. So I would have started by giving us Jake a little earlier in general, not just like, oh, it's a hint of Jake. Like, this show could have been about, this show suffers that it is only 6 episodes long. Hear me out. Because if they gave us another episode or two to where we could have also met Jake, one of the coolest parts of this last fight is when you have Mark and Steven seamlessly shifting between each other fighting. That was really cool. Seeing Steven get to fight and actually be good at it was fun.
Yep.
It was.
So if they had met Jake and Jake was lying his ass off the whole time about how dangerous and psychopathic he really is, then having Jake in the middle of that third fight would have been a lot of fun too. Like the Dark Moon Knight suit shifting again, all this back and forth. It also would have made Khonshu's little fuckery with rules as written, as it were, at towards the very end more impactful, because that's the whole thing. Steven and Mark are free. Jake isn't.
Didn't he say, like, I'll release you two? Like, specifically,
Yeah, he specifically
like, I'll release
used the
you
word
two.
Yeah.
too.
Like,
yeah,
the both of you, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. The both of you will be free. So that's when Khonshu shows up, and we'll talk more about the end credits later.
We'll just go. So you guys, end credit scene. Carol's in an asylum, if you will, and he's talking to the nurse. Some dude in some leather gloves go like, "Don't worry about it, mommy. I got this. I'm gonna take him to his room." And he obviously don't go to the room. He goes into like the Rolls Royce of like limos or whatever.
The greatest limo of all
greatest
time.
limo I've ever seen in my entire life.
By the way, did anybody
Had to.
see? Did
The
anybody
license
see the license plate?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Inspector.
Yeah, Spectre.
And he
dug
throws
it.
him in there. Khonshu's in there looking like Jason Statement on some shit like, "Hey, yo, you thought you'd never see me again." And then we get the reveal. The partition lowers. It's Oscar Isaac playing Jay Lockley. And he says in Spanish, basically like, you dead. And he shoots him in the head, we presume.
You did.
You did. And there's Jake. There you go. I'm just gonna say my piece first because I personally took that end credit scene. I thought it was racist a little, to be honest, because we know that this version of Moon Knight's been changed dramatically from the comics. Like this is not the same Mark Spector. This is not the same Stephen Grant. This is definitely not the same Jake Lockley.
No,
But it still bothered me that they decided that the killer version is a Hispanic man. Like that doesn't aim well for representation when that is kind of like the stigma many of us Hispanic people go through is like we're just bad people, like don't bring them into our country because they're murderers and they're rapists and they're scammers and all. Like I don't see like how that helps representation, especially when Marvel has not been the best at doing representation for the Hispanic community, period. So like I don't see how this helps the Hispanic community anyway. Was it cool? Yeah, sure, but like even like my mom was like, something about that doesn't sit right with my spirit. So like if someone who doesn't watch the show feels offended, like I don't know what the decision was other than maybe Oscar Isaac would say like I need to speak Spanish at least once during this entire series, like
for my people,
for the people, like,
Right.
so like it for me it took away, and also because we all knew Jake was coming, like it didn't have the impact that I wanted, and then that representation really like offended me personally. So like I overall like this ending was just not.
It's not just that Jake's a killer and like that's the only time we actually get to see Jake and he speaks Spanish and stuff, but it's that's the only time we get to see Jake. The Hispanic character is tacked on as an end credit scene. That's it.
Like 20 seconds.
Like 3 lines tops.
So yeah, that's how I felt about like the end credit scene. Like I was hoping it would be a cooler reveal, and like I would have loved the Brooklyn version of Jake because he's cool that way. But like this, again, like Matt saying, like who watched the final product was like,
we did it. You got a winner.
So that's my take on the end credit scene and the reveal of Jake. Joseph, how did you feel about the reveal of JL?
I thought Khonshu had some serious vibe going. Like that look was
fabulous.
It was
swagger.
That suit was amazing.
Hugo Boss for sure. Okay.
I agree. Like so a lot of my problems with how this show has run, including the end credit scene, especially the end credit scene, is summed up that if this is all we're getting, this is not good. If there's more to come, then they can probably fix some of my complaints. But like, this is a very complex character. I've said it every time I've been on the show. This is a complicated, difficult to represent properly character. And they tried to cram as much as they could about the character in a 5-hour period, and it just doesn't work. So this is just another bullet point in the long list of like, this is just not working for me because there's a lot more. Iron Man is a way simpler character. He's smart. He's an asshole. He drinks heavily. Boom, Iron Man. Mm-hmm. Moon Knight is a very complex character because of the various moving pieces to who he is as a person, and not just Mark and the alters that he has, but the Khonshu relationship as well. All of that is complex because Khonshu was definitely looking like the version of Khonshu that takes over the world in one of the comic arcs, and which if they move to that comic arc eventually, that would be a really interesting way to go. But I don't see them doing that.
Danielle, what did you think of the reveal, especially as someone who's not as familiar with the comics? Like, did it have an impact for you, or was it just as much as a letdown?
Yeah, it was a letdown. It was cool to see Jake come into the hospital and then potentially do like some kung fu because there was like an orderly down, like between the counter. I was like, okay, like something's happening. But then
he was dead. He wasn't
Right.
There was a pool under him.
That's true. I forgot. There was
Deadpool,
blood
what'd
under
you
him.
say? A Deadpool.
A dead. So I was really excited. I was like, okay, something's happening. But then knowing that Jake is a Hispanic person or a Spanish speaking person, and I'm guessing like I don't even know like how to refer to him, but like what is that backstory? I can't even imagine, and I'm just really annoyed that they didn't explain it to me because how did Mark and Steven at some point meet someone that they absorbed their identity and learned a whole language? Like that's a lot.
Mm-hmm. It's one thing to fake an accent. It's another thing entirely to have a completely different language.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I'm sure if I watched enough like British television, I could have an accent. But like to learn a whole language.
Rihanna's made it her whole personality.
Yes,
that is true.
especially because like when the show started, we were kind of back and forth on whether or not this was like DID or if Steven was like an actual person. And they've kind of like revealed that no, like he had the disorder. So it's like, yeah, you were saying, like, where did he pick up Spanish?
It's not. There's more to it too, because if it was just DID, then the weird magical elements implies that the person that Mark created, that is Steven, is also a person because Steven had a heart.
Exactly. So, that's why I was like, what do y'all want to do?
It wasn't just the beginning; it's the whole series is super ambiguous about it.
Well, that's a really good point. Then, yeah, like did Jake also die when Mark got shot? Are we just not going to think about it? Is it going to break my brain?
I kind of feel like
he avoided all of that.
You asked earlier that like what would we have done to fix it? I think I personally would have done it that Mark or that Jake is the one that saves them, that pulls them out of the duat or whatever, and all that jazz, and that's how they're like, okay, well, we don't trust you, but thanks.
Right. Yeah. It was.
Because I had saw something. It was morbid but cool. The fan theory. I always be about the fan theories that Mark created Steven to like get away from his mom. Like he was just like, I'm gonna create a personality that their mom was amazing. So a lot of people are saying there's no way that Steven was the one who was getting beat because he has positive memories of his mother. So a lot of people are saying that like Mark he was the one created to take the punishment. Yep. Like Steven was created to be like, that's not my mom. I disassociate from that. And then Mark was the one taking the punishment, like the actual physical abuse. And that's why he's the violent one.
Yep.
And that's why he's the one that like lashes out and does all the heavy breathing. And we skipped past it because it was such a stupid scene and I hated it. But like the part where they beat Harrow, blinked past the boss fight, and they kind of go back into that asylum again and whatnot. I thought that was Mark. I mean, I thought that was Jake because he had a very thick Brooklyn accent out of nowhere.
I
was like, what the hell is this?
I agree with you. I also heard. I was like, wait a.
So like when Jake started speaking Spanish, I was confused because like he was like, yeah, I don't think we agree with that one, Doc. I was like, who is this man? Like, I thought that was like going to be like the Jake reveal. I was like, oh shit, this is dope and everything. So I was just like, I don't know if that was just like bad editing and maybe that was supposed to be like a Jake scene and just got cut in weird. But it's like Mark didn't have a Brooklyn accent this whole show. And now out of nowhere, he's like got a thick New Yorker accent, but Jake speaks Spanish.
Yeah, I called that too. I was like, wait, so has this been Jake the whole time? But then like Jake would have stayed, restrained that whole, like he would have been just killed everybody. Like I don't see why he would have had a conversation.
So I actually
go ahead.
No, you go for it.
I was just gonna say we never went back to that third sarcophagus.
Nope.
We like never did that, and that's because I forgot about that set scene in the asylum when we went back and Harrow was like bleeding with the whole finally the glass in the shoes.
Yeah,
finally
exactly.
The glass.
He's like, why am I bleeding?
Yeah, finally.
So it does make me wonder though the whole way the show is handled and ended and stuff. If Mark is also not a creative personality, and if Jake is the primary personality, that everything Mark went through was a dreamed up backstory, much like Steven's was. So I'm kind of starting to wonder if that's the direction they went. They just did a really poor job trying to explain it.
Right. I could see it because a lot of those asylum scenes, I feel like there were times where he would like make it like this certain like kind of dead in the eyes face, and that was like the signal that, oh, like this is when Jake, like when they were in
Yep. His
the
soul
tomb, the Great's tomb, and he kind of just like zoned out and just started hacking everybody with the axe,
Yeah.
and everything. So so it's just like there was a couple times during those like one-on-one meetings in the doctors where he kind of like had that face and like certain reactions where it was just like oh, this like us showing Jake. So it's like, and then we've talked about this before, you know, Mark was married, Steven is a vegan, so it was assumed that Jake was the one that set up that date at the steakhouse with the girl. I think her name was Dylan, or Dan or something like that. So it's just like, is she bilingual? Does she speak Spanish?
Really trying to pull all the pieces together. Like, is it
like did she Rosetta Stone that shit? Like,
yep.
Like, I'm so confused.
But it has this vibe, especially if Jake is Spanish speaking and that's his primary language, then it really would make sense that maybe the other two are the fabricated personalities for various reasons. You know, Jake has a very pronounced personality, so maybe he makes Mark to be the more professional side of things, someone with a background as a mercenary and ex-CIA and stuff. So the skills he has make sense. He's not just a street tough or something. And then Steven is the smart one or some crap like that. I don't know. It's a weird mess. And again, if we get more Moon Knight and they're able to answer more of these questions or whatever, it's probably going to be less of a problem for me right now. But if this is all we're getting, then this is not great.
I think originally with Loki was only supposed to be one season. And then
that was so good.
It was so good. They immediately announced it like, yo, season 2, it's you guys, you're getting it.
But they said it in the show. Like it was in the end credits.
There was no end credits. They thanked the National Association of Mental Illness. That was the end of the thing. Like that was
that's what I meant for Loki. Like they told us in the show that it's going to get a second season.
Yeah.
But remember that Werewolf by Night is coming out as like a Halloween special, and that's like ripped right from the Moon Knight comics. Like they have like direct interaction. So it's like how he doesn't show up in that.
But that's the thing. This, if I'm not mistaken, the Werewolf by Night, they changed it because he's Hispanic now. And like the whole thing is now based on like the
him and Jake.
The Lobizón version of the werewolf. Because the Spanish version of a werewolf is not the same as other telling of werewolves. So I think we get a little bit of that. But I wanted to, before we like have our final thoughts. Okay, let's pretend we live in this Marvel universe. Like we live in this version of Earth. Do you survive the snap? How do you feel about yourself when you survive the hero balancing scales things? Like, do you feel like I'm definitely a good person? Or like you keep surviving all these like things where multiple people just like die or vanish? Like, how would you personally feel if you survive the blip or the snap, or whatever you want to call it, and you survive the balancing scales? Like, how does that make you feel personally? Because if it was me, because we don't know why people were chosen for the snap. It's supposed to be random, right? But like in this case, if you survive this one, does it mean you survive both because you're a good person, or like you were a bad person who survived the first one, but then Ahmet got you on the second run? Like, how are you supposed to feel when you live on this earth? Like, I definitely get like what Joseph's saying, like a face showed all of the earth for 20 minutes, like, and Chitauri were coming from the sky, and like
alien invasion.
Myself, like I would just feel like how would I feel about living on this earth? Like my insurance premiums gotta be so fucking high because I had to get covered for like zombies, I gotta cover for aliens, I gotta cover for blips, I gotta Egyptian gods, like
now wizards.
The wizards.
Blip insurance is hilarious.
Multiple Spider-Men,
multiple Spider-Mans. Like, just like, how would you feel if you lived in this universe? Like, would you just be tired? Like, I just felt like I would just be so tired all the fucking time of all the drama.
I'm doing. So if I'm me as I am and been through the things I've been through, I'm doing two things. If I survive the blip and Arrow's judgment, I'm playing the lottery because I'm lucky as fuck. And then secondly, I'm like, you sure? The shit that I did, I'm good.
That's the thing. I'm just kind of like,
like, what are the sins
I'm going
that
and doing some more craziness. I'm
right?
like,
that's what I'm
What
curious
I've done
about.
is
Like,
cool.
what are the sins that like are balanced? Because remember, like when we see Harrow the first time, an old lady dies, and I was just like, what could she possibly do in her future? It was reminding me of The Good Place, where
she busted up a house party. She's like,
probably.
They
You
make it too
didn't do
much
the Good Place reference. You
this
didn't get enough points.
That's what I was
Lemonade
thinking. It
stand
felt
doesn't
like
have
The Good
permits.
Place.
I
When
love
she
it.
was buying organic food that like was destroying the earth, and that like diminished her points. Like I couldn't.
You should have sticked with soy milk, not almond milk.
Right,
That
that's
leads
what
to
it was all the time.
She stole all the silverware from the Perkins. She was just
Right.
taking forks. She's just taking forks.
They got plenty of these.
I don't know, like the Harrow thing doesn't feel like it's nearly as quick to act, because apparently you got to be grabbed by one of Amit's disciples, and they got to do the judging thing. And then apparently if you're judged okay, then now you work for Amit. I don't know.
That was so strange.
The dude at the checkpoint,
right?
The dude at the checkpoint, he's like, and soul rip, and then like all of them died but one dude. He's like, cool, you're with us now, and he's like,
my man's
cool.
Does this come with insurance? Like, cause it seems like it's important.
Like the 401k, like,
right? What are the benefit plan with Ahmed? Like,
yeah,
I'm thought about getting out of the private sector and into the out of the public sector into the religious sector.
Yeah. But if I pass the judgment, like the scales, I'm asking, like, do y'all like recheck biannually? And if they're like, no, if they're like, no, you're one and done, I'm doing some wild.
I know, right?
Do you recheck biannually? And scale just immediately with that question, chunk.
I'm like,
yeah, it just seems like the people of Earth have been through a lot of shit in the past 10 to 12 years. And it's just like, God, like, how do you live life? Like, I guess.
So
it just seems so stressful.
That pisses me. What Joe has kind of touched on earlier, that pissed me off, that like the Egyptian gods were like, the reason that Khonshu got banned because he was showing people that gods exist. I was like, they know about everything. Thor's on lunch boxes. They know that we know gods exist. So for him to be like, yeah, we don't like Khonshu, you can't sit with us because you too loud. You're doing too much.
That's a weird and interesting thing too. That like there's a weird distinction between gods in the Marvel universe, because there's like the alien gods, like the Olympians and the Asgardians and all them, and then there's also like Ego, who called himself a little G. And then there's the Egyptian gods, which are more like your traditionally expected, like paranatural creatures that exist on another plane of existence with magic powers. But like, I think some of the crap that the gods did are going to feed into, and now that I don't think they're connected at all, but we know that Gore the God Butcher is the villain of Thor Love and Thunder. He's like the primary villain, played by Batman himself, Christian Bale. And Gore's whole thing was Gore was very religious, and he believed in the gods, and the gods kept letting him down. And he's like, fuck it, I'm going to kill them all. So he does. He gets a magic sword, and he starts going and kill a sword made from the same thing that made the symbiotes, like Venom and stuff. And then he just starts and goes killing gods. That's just his shtick. So there's definitely a thread through line of like, the gods are so alien, not just the alien ones, but the ones from Earth. The gods are so alien that we start looking at the stuff they do and are like, this is terrible. Why are you even here? Like, what are you even doing for us?
Nothing.
Absolutely. No, except for Tyrek being adorable. I mean, that's what she's doing for us, being cute.
We stand a queen.
Even she was unemployed for a while. She's like, oh, it's been a while since I've done this.
I've just been on my boat for so long.
And it's really funny. It's funny to notice that it's weird and funny to notice Anubis wasn't doing that she was the one doing it. So I'm wondering if, because we saw there are a bunch of gods and Shoptis in the temple, and I'm wondering if Anubis was one of them because he pissed off someone.
I know. I was thinking that Layla. I was like, why don't you just smash them all? And then I was like, well, I guess you might
smash.
Well, I was just like, if Amit is killing everyone, like y'all can't be worse. Like,
and then Set shows up. He's like, yay, gonna eat everybody.
So that's not a good strategy.
Imhotep comes up like, oh shit, where's Brendan Fraser?
We connect the mummy.
Look,
Oh, that's such a good one. I love that
it's all
one.
it's all
Oh
canon.
god. So
It's all canon.
Moon Knight has ended. We don't know if we're getting any more of it. We also don't really see this ending credit scene doesn't have really anything to do with Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which some of the other ending credit scenes alluded to other things movie wise. So we know that this is basically like a separate entity of things, and so I feel like it's a little bit of a disappointment because Midnight Suns and all that stuff. It's still possible that something Moon Knight related could be in the movie because I haven't seen it yet. I don't think any of you guys have seen it yet. But yeah, I feel like our next show, I believe in Marvel, is either Secret Wars or
Yeah, I know that
Armor
just
Wars
yeah,
or
one
Miss
of them just
Marvel.
Miss
finished.
Marvel. It's
Miss
Miss
Marvel's
Marvel.
next, and
Yeah.
that is
One of the
it's
shows just finished filming. I think it was
yeah.
Secret Wars or Armor Wars,
We
Secret
got a,
Invasion,
we
one of
got
the
a, we
two.
got a lot of wars coming up.
So excited for Armor Wars.
Yeah. Listen,
Yeah.
my last question to you guys is: we've seen many of these shows. We have the Moon Knight as our most recent one to end. Does it change your feelings about how the shows will continue? Like, I think for a while they had like a good track record, so there was a lot to anticipate and be excited about. But the way this one was overall, I think for me it puts some doubt in how well they can translate Kamala Khan, which again is a new form of representation, for characters who are Muslim and like a young female lead. Like that makes me scared about how that's going to be represented. So I'm walking into anything else with more caution than I had previously. So I want to ask you guys, what is your faith now in Marvel as far as the series goes? Because the movies I think are in their own category of how they're viewed and done. So Danielle, especially as you who is not, you kind of represent like the average fan, like who just enjoys Marvel for what it is. How do you feel about the next series coming up?
Oh yeah, I have very little faith. I'm actually in a place where I'm like, oh yeah, Ms. Marvel, and I'm like, do I want to try to get to know another character? Like that's kind of how I feel because at the end of Moon Knight, I was so excited. The first episode, I was so excited for this, and then at the end, I just feel like so deflated. So I don't want to go through that again. Yeah.
I agree with you, Joseph. How do you feel about the future of Marvel series?
So I have a little more faith in Miss Marvel being good than I did even going into Moon Knight than I did going into it. Because Miss Marvel is a character I think that is slightly easier to portray because you don't have the mental health problems that Moon Knight has to try and tackle respectfully. The cultural stuff is definitely something I think is going to be a challenge, but the level of cultural relevance that she deals with is a culture within America, if that makes sense. We're not dealing with a culture within another country that people that may be from that country are going to be like, I recognize this. I see this. Like the moment where the little girl was like, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" I'm like, yeah, that's got to be impactful and important. I know a lot of people enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Layla is a standout star of this show, and if we don't get more of her, I'm going to be very upset.
We have to.
But I think that there's some more faith I have personally in how Miss Marvel's going to be handled as a character. I am worried about what they're doing with her powers, but only a little bit.
She ain't got no ambitions, and it's
Yeah, I have. So Miss Marvel's power set is very similar to like Mr. Fantastic. It's like stretching and growing kind of stuff. That's her thing. Is she grows and like punches crap, and she's just really clever about how she uses her powers. Yes, she's also super adorable. She is to me this generation's Spider-Man, what Spider-Man was like 20-30 years ago, where they're this plucky young hero that's just hyper optimistic no matter what terrible things are thrown at them,
and
they're
also
just
represent Jersey, which is like gets no love.
For good reason.
So what we've seen so far with characters related to the Marvel line of heroes, and by Marvel I mean Captain Marvel, Photon, and now Miss Marvel, is they are exposed to a power source and then they get a power. So with Captain Marvel, it was the energy source from the cosmic cube thingy gave her superpowers, flight and laser beams and things, which is also not how she got her powers originally. Nope. And then Photon got her power by being exposed to the hex, trying to just by herself walk through that freaking wall. And her powers were already messed up.
There was already something
right,
on with
and that just
before.
exasperated it.
Yeah.
So I think she's probably gonna find something that's like a relic or something that gives her these weird barrier and energy powers that she has in the show. And by the end of the show, she's gonna lose the item, and then now her DNA is irrevocably changed. Now she's got the embiggening stuff.
Oh.
Which I kind of feel like, I hope that's how they do it, because I don't know, that's like Spider-Man not having webbing powers at all, even whether he made them or has them naturally. It's like not having that's the impact this character would have, I think. So
and Jake, how do you feel about, the future of the Marvel series?
So first thing I said, take this with like a super duper grain of salt, but I saw somebody post this, that the end credit scene, when we're talking about like being so far disconnected from like the overall MCU, I believe somebody has said that like the building in the background, like when the best limo ever created in life like drove off, I believe they said that building is in London. And if I'm not incorrect, isn't Dane Whitman in London? Like, isn't he like chilling over in the UK?
But so was Steven at the beginning too.
Oh yeah, you're right. Very good point. I forgot all about that. But I think like the fact that they're in the same city is like a good sign, maybe. Like hopefully, like for sure. But I would say, so kind of going on Joe's point, I'm not as worried about the upcoming shows because of who's involved. I don't see Sam Jackson or Don Cheadle or allegedly, Brie Larson might cameo in Miss Marvel and things. Like, I don't see them getting behind bullshit, because I feel like, especially Samuel Jackson, like, or like, because they're so invested, because they've been doing this for so long that they're like want to put in like quality thing. And I remember like that was kind of like the selling point of Moon Knight, like, oh, it's its own thing. And I feel like they made it too much. They made it too much its own thing. Like I didn't feel invested. Like, oh, like you're going to be like part of the B team with the Avengers. It's going to be lit. Like I didn't really care about any of that. So because of who's involved, I do have faith. And like, I like the point that you were saying about like Kamala Khan, because I think she has like some type of bracelets and stuff. I think that's something they're gonna tie that into Shang-Chi, because they kept talking about like his bracelets and like they came from some mystical place that's like predates this, then a third. I feel like whatever it is that she has on probably came from that same.
And from the videos they've released, the color source, the color energy thing looks very similar to the stuff from Shang-Chi. So it's not the same, but it looks similar-ish.
Yeah, because what's coming up are more directly tied into what we've been used to, like leading to bigger films. I think they're gonna be on it. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think Kamala has the benefit. Well, I'm sorry, Dan. I think Kamala has the benefit of being in a movie next, and we know Moon Knight is not.
She's gonna be in the Marvels,
so we know like whatever we don't get probably in the series, we'll probably get in the film. But Danielle,
I was gonna say, it just makes me sad. Like Oscar Isaac, I had so much faith in him because of all the movies he's done. And then I saw at the end, like I specifically waited. He's an executive producer, and I was just like, then what happened? Like,
like you got your brother involved in everything, and
I know, like
Ethan Hawke happened.
Is that what happened though? Because I would also expect Ethan Hawke. Like they had a really powerful cast, and so I expected more. But I think it's just like you were saying, like it tried to be its own thing too much. It's like so disconnected, and also just only 6 episodes.
Oh, remember Ethan Hawke did that interview saying like how Marvel movies are stupid. He's like, I'm gonna bring them down from the inside.
Oh shit.
So, I'm also wondering, because we mentioned it before, that is it Gaspard Ulliel or whatever, the actor that played he was in the 3rd episode, I think.
Yeah.
Who was going to be Midnight Man.
Yeah.
He died like right after this was done shooting,
and they had to reshoot a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering if this suffered from a similar problem that technically Falcon and Winter Soldier did too, because when they were first shooting Falcon and Winter Soldier, part of the B plot or one of the stories was going to be a plague. They started filming, and then COVID happened, and they're like, let's not do a plague. So I'm wondering if it's a similar situation. They changed so much that, because if you notice, things actually kind of felt like they flowed right up until after that episode. Like that episode was now some stuff felt stilted and crammed in there, but that can be attributed to it's a TV show. But after that is when it started just feeling weird and disconnected and off.
Yeah. And even like when Midnight Man's character exits the show, it was so awkward. It's like you just see him on a horse, you don't see his face, just riding off into the mist. I wonder if that was shot after he passed away and it was like a body double. Because they said, and it makes you wonder, because it's like he was such a smaller character from what we saw. But I remember reports saying they had to do like major reshoots because he died. And I was like, I wonder how much he was really involved. Because it seemed like his first couple scenes, it seems like Harold was trying to recruit him. He was like, "Oh, I can show you some shit." And he's like, "Oh, show me some shit." Like, I don't know, like if he was supposed to like kind of be in it more like regularly throughout the show, but it definitely seemed like after that it pivoted. Like the show definitely like they sped it up, like they rushed through everything, like they got everywhere so quick after that.
We as viewers ended up suffering for it, and it's one thing to, like I said, I think the disappointing thing is we don't know if we're going to get any more Moon Knight. And so if this is all there is, there really is just no satisfying ending for it. But unfortunately, that also is the end of us talking about Moon Knight unless it decides it wants to come back. Who the hell knows? Probably won't. And my prayers and condolences to Oscar Isaac, because you are 0 for 2 on Egyptian characters, my friend. Let's stop doing it. That's my advice to you. So it's been great talking to you guys about Moon Knight. You know, talking to you guys has been the best part about Moon Knight, honestly. Better than the show itself.
My time doing panels with you guys is enhances my enjoyment of watching these things.
Absolutely. 1,000%. Like I can't wait to be like, oh, I can't wait to like hate on this with y'all. It's the one time I didn't feel by myself and hating things. I was like,
oh yeah, no, I was about to say I think it's the first time we agreed. And
we all agreed. I know. This is part of my recovery.
Sorry, we're taking your shtick, Yali.
It's okay.
Ooh, this was your welcome back gift surprise.
So yeah, this is the point where you guys get to shamelessly plug whatever you want. And let's start with the visiting team, Danielle from the Gamers. Plug whatever you want to plug.
Oh man, what is the Gamers up to? Oh, something really cool is happening with the Gamers this weekend. There's a Apex tournament sponsored by Benefit Cosmetics. And it's just like all these really cool female and femme identifying players playing Apex. And so if you're on Twitch and if you have like, and you love watching Apex, hop over to the Gamers Twitch channel and watch our team. I believe we have 2 teams competing in the tournament. So it'll be really fun.
Shout out to Benefit Cosmetics.
Seriously, I don't have any, but I'm gonna get some now.
I could send,
or you could send me some,
or send us
That's
stuff. We
totally fine.
Wherever we're from. Joseph, what do you want to plug in? And don't forget the most important thing.
My LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn, where I'm just Joseph Davis. You can also find me on Twitter and TikTok. I guess it's the Clock app, where I'm at the Spice Must Joe. I'm also on Facebook, though it's just really because it's there. And you can find me writing on Fandom Spotlite sometimes when life isn't, trying to beat the crap out of me. And also on Mondays, whenever we can actually get together, me and a bunch of guys from Canada are playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition over on the Rollmongers podcast. But hey, if there's anyone out there that watches this that are looking for more people to do like tabletop stuff online, I'm here. I exist.
Come get him.
Hit up his LinkedIn. That's the best way to contact him.
Come get him.
Jake from State Farm. Tell us all the things you got going on.
I have been Jake from State Farm Lockley, aka Brian Moon Knight. That was me last time. I think Matt Spector was one of them too, one of the episodes. But you can find me on Instagram _menace2sobriety. That's the number 2, not spelled out. And you can always find me here prostituting myself for the beautiful people of Fandom Spotlight on camera and writing when I can. And then you can also catch me every Wednesday, Fandom Spotlight flagship podcast, Dragon Ball for Life. And we do that each and every week. And I think the next thing I got coming up for Fandom, where you'll see my face again, is the Obi-Wan show.
That's right.
Which should be coming in a couple weeks.
And I am Yali, and you guys know me as a born hater, and you'll see more hate soon. Hopefully, I'm also working on some things Fandom Spotlight related. And one of them might be arguing with Matt.
Hey, so excited.
We might be arguing about things since people think it's adorable that we argue with each other. But I'm also over at the Game Herds doing social media stuff. I write at Crunchyroll where I talk about anime and dating, where I talk about my horrible dating life, and A Mom's Guide to Anime where I talk about being a pretty good parent, I think. And so you guys know, when Walking Dead comes back, those are on Mondays. Wednesdays we have the DB4L podcast, and on YouTube we have VCR Redux. Mini K taught me how to say it correctly, and then panels will no longer be live panels; they'll just be reaction videos, recaps. You have a small intimate group, and they'll talk to you about Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is coming up, and then I'm not sure if we're doing one for Multiverse of Madness, but we'll inform you guys. So make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, all of the things. We don't have a LinkedIn. Joseph, that might be your homework. And as always, we make sure you guys to follow your fandom. And thank you for joining us for Moon Knight. And again, happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody out there. It's a great time. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Shot o'clock. Shot o'clock.